Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Gut, dass es dem gut geht.
Why do you feel responsible for the injury, Thomas? What really happened?
I wasn't disfigured by any German shells. It happened during my leave. It was an accident.
Why lie about it?
Come on. It's one thing to come back disfigured by the Germans, and it's another to get injured in an accident that could have happened to anybody.
Reconstructive surgery has been very successful for some soldiers.
I don't want to wear a bloody mask for the rest of my life. I'd rather stay here and just be forgotten.
Okay.
Tell me what really happened then.
I went with a whore in Rouen. Dead drunk I was. The hotel was a shithole. There was a fire that night.
Did you start the fire? Were you trying to avoid going back to the front? That's not uncommon, you know.
No. It's just that I was asleep when the flames reached the room. The girl was long gone. Bitch never woke me up. Left me to burn.
Das ist wirklich nicht nett. Ich glaube, ich habe es jetzt endlich geschnallt. Diese Hinweise machen das Blut besser. Ja, den kriege ich jetzt nie wieder.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Again. Time has lost its effect on me. But the suffering continues.
Ja, wie gesagt, das ist ja auch eigentlich... Und wenn es sein muss, können wir mit denen nehmen. Die kann ich...
Blood oil with the fever.
Oh, der hat auch Kopfschmerzen. Wieso haben alle Kopfschmerzen? Ich gehe mal zu euch beiden. Bitte. Tag.
Good evening.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Na, Neuralgie habe ich nicht.
Mr. Thatcher, do you have a job?
No. Since I came back from the war, I spent most of my time and energy just trying to forget.
I understand what you mean. I was a soldier too.
No. Nobody can truly understand what I've gone through.
Why were you locked in that sewer? What happened?
I went by the canal after an argument with a friend. Got chased by these fucking wankers and had to barricade myself in, despite my claustrophobia.
Why did you run? What was the reason for your argument?
Newton wanted me to go to a hospital, but I can't stand being closed in. Makes me feel like I'm suffocating.
Tell me about your claustrophobia. Has anyone given you an official diagnosis?
That's what the bloody doctor said. But I don't want to go to a hospital to get checked again. I'll deal with it my own way.
Oswald, why did you not go to the Pembroke Hospital to seek medical help?
I don't trust doctors. All they care about was their careers and processes. I won't be locked in any room again by anyone.
Your fear of being trapped is not going to go away by itself. You need professional help.
I've seen enough butchers in white coats to last a lifetime. Hospitals reek of chemicals and death. What I need is fresh air.
Ah, wenn du wüsstest.
Do you want to talk about why you have this fear of being enclosed, Mr. Thatcher?
No, I really don't.
An irrational fear like yours is usually rooted in a specific event. Perhaps Perhaps it would help to talk about it.
Well, Doctor, take a guess then if you're so interested in my case.
Na, super. Ich hasse sowas.
As a soldier, you're expected to kill the enemy to survive. Guilt is a powerful emotion and could lead to feelings of suffocation and oppression.
My God, you're so wrong. Believe me, I would kill if it happened again. Violence is part of who I am.
Gut. Oh, sogar zwei? Das heißt, besser geht. Also, nee, einer nur.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher. Try to take care of yourself.
Den werde ich, glaube ich, nie gesund kriegen. Ich habe zu spät gereiht, dass ich... Wo ist denn der andere hin? Wo ist denn der andere? Ach, kann ich das auch machen? Nee, wahrscheinlich.
I cannot enter.
Was ist jetzt da drin? Ist das jetzt wieder Versuchung, dass ich... Nee. Sag mal, das war jetzt ein schlechter Witz.
It's locked.
Weird. Really weird. Vielleicht von hier oben? Wieso Gespräche immer so spät mit Krieg? Bist du da? Nee, du bist der da.
Hello again, Mr. Blight.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. You doing your rounds as usual?
Naja.
You are always welcome at the Pembroke Hospital. As a former officer, I'll be honored to welcome a fellow veteran.
I'm not giving up on bringing Oswald back to the hospital. I just need to convince him that he needs some help.
Perhaps he needs to reach that decision by himself.
Could you speak to him? He doesn't usually listen to doctors, but perhaps because you've been through it, you can talk him round.
Nö.
Why do you stay here now that Mr. Thatcher's back?
It's complicated. Since the war, Oswald's been really nervous with the idea of entering any hospital. And me, I've got my own issues.
Can you speak about them?
Rats, sir. Even seeing one, they turn me. Just want to run. It's that fear that stopped me from going after Oswald when he left.
What can you tell me about the war, Mr. Blight? If you want to speak about it, of course.
War was... Well, you know, sir. The stench of death everywhere. Your mates lying bleeding in the mud. Just praying to make it through and get home. Bloody nightmare.
Did you know Oswald Thatcher before the war?
No. We met in the battlefield. I think we're in the same boat to France. We've stuck together ever since.
I fought in France, too. I served as a field surgeon, but it was not uncommon to repel an assault, especially at night.
Yeah. The first time I was wounded, I had to protect the infirmary from hostiles. Twice.
Okay. Du hast Erkältung. Oh, eins habe ich schon. Persönliche?
What caused your phobia of rats, Newton?
It happened last year following an artillery attack. I was trapped for 2 days in a hole under 2 dead soldiers. And there were rats.
Go on.
It started eating me as soon as I dozed. Gnawing at my ears, my fingers, lips. Couldn't move. Couldn't call for help.
I see.
No, you don't. You have no idea what it is to wake up buried under bodies. Fucking vermin eating your flesh. Oswald. He found me and saved me.
Okay.
Do you need medical attention, sir?
Afraid so. In the war, I was always worried about picking up something, getting some infection. Unfortunately, got that fear in London now.
Throughout history, some diseases have done more damage to armies than any weapon created by man. You are wise to be careful.
You're working at the Pembroke Hospital, aren't you? That's a good enough reason for me and Oswald to go there.
Ja, tschüss.
Goodbye, Mr. Blight. Take care of yourself.
Okay, das kriege ich wahrscheinlich nicht mehr wirklich. Dir geht's gut? Dir geht's gut. Dir nicht. Tag.
Good evening, Dr. Timmons.
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Mehr oder weniger.
Do you need any medical assistance yourself, Doctor?
Yes, indeed. But don't worry, I am perfectly capable of taking care of myself.
I have no doubt about it, but you are still ill all the same. Please, take this medicine.
I appreciate your concern, Dr. Reed. To be honest, I just did not take the time to diagnose myself.
Goodbye,
Blödheit.
Dr. Timmons.
So, ich muss zu dem anderen Kerl. Oh, er ist wieder.
It is. How are you?
Na,
I'm better than one might expect, Lady Ashbury. Dr. Swansea has asked me to investigate the recent disturbances in the hospital caused by skulls.
Really? What do you mean?
I discovered the most intriguing skull. An elderly woman answering to the name of Old Bridget, and a man who helps them remain hidden in London.
Old Bridget? Peculiar name. I've never heard of her.
According to Old Bridget, skulls can lead a peaceful existence like us. They are even able to nourish themselves by feeding on corpses and the flesh of the dead.
How vile. Please, Jonathan, let's change the subject.
Skulls of London have gone into hiding. Both mortals and immortals plot their extermination.
Yes. Skulls are the orphans of the Vampire Society. They are the shame of their genitors, a disgrace to the vampire that created them.
There is something ominous closing around me, Lady Ashbury. Something spies upon me from the shadows. Something cruel and wicked.
deine Schwester.
Whatever do you mean, Jonathan?
If Sean Hampton and Harriet were not the guilty parties, then who? I saw the bodies and the blood.
Your rebirth has not gone unnoticed, Jonathan. Be extremely careful. If you get in the way of an immortal's plans...
Do you suspect someone?
I don't know, Jonathan. I steer clear of vampire politics, especially whilst hunters roam the city's streets.
Goodbye for now, my lady.
Quatsch nicht. Aber ist da. Hab ich eben nicht gesehen. Good Tag.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Ja, gerade so vor sich hin. Achso, bin ja eh schon alles durch.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these
Ja,
days.
eigentlich nicht.
Perhaps I should have considered the offer from that Cadigan fellow.
Oh, du bist gut, dir geht's gut, dann lassen wir den in Ruhe. Wenn es dir gut geht, dann kommen wir bitte zusammen. Ach, mit der hab ich.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Okay. Warum haben alle Kopfschmerzen? Ich kann auch keine Kopfschmerztabletten machen.
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must use it.
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation efficiently. Is there anything you have to say about this?
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
Okay. Das ist meine Ehe.
I located the shop, but it was vandalized, and the owner is missing. All I found was your order.
I was afraid of such bad news. People are so desperate they're ready to burgle a shop for drugs.
That's quite a list you ordered. Opium, sodium hypochlorite. It can't be just headaches you're trying to cure.
This dreadful influenza, of course. I already ran some tests on hopeless cases. Without success, I must admit.
Do you realize you could create a lethal poison without the correct dosage? Then there are the legal ramifications.
Is this not true of any medical substance, Dr. Reed? However, if you would agree to improve it, I'd be glad to accept your help.
As long as you promise to be scrupulous with your experiments, I may try to gather these substances and even help improve upon the mixture.
That's all I'm asking for, Dr. Reed. That's all I'm asking.
Okay.
I want to know about these secret tests you run, and if they can save people from this epidemic. Speak to me now, Thoreau.
I know I may sound presumptuous, but I'm just following your steps, Dr. Reed. I'm casting away the shadows of ignorance by daring to face them.
Self-confidence is essential in our line of work, my young colleague, but only if tempered with the correct amount of cynicism.
But you never doubt yourself, Dr. Reed. I've read all your articles and books. You performed the most daring research during the war.
You have my support, Dr. Strickland. I know exactly what it feels like to battle an unknown disease with only your mind and force of will to help you.
Jo.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. You
Aktuell
don't
kann
know
das
what
wirklich
that
sehr
means
gut.
to me.
Do you need my medical attention, dear colleague?
I would have been confused if anyone other than you had asked that question, Dr. Reed. But your help is welcomed.
There is no shame in helping each other. We're colleagues, after all.
Many doctors I have known are too cynical to think that way.
Ja, dann gehen
Goodbye,
wir.
Dr. Strickland. I can't let Strickland put his patients at risk with opium. Perhaps an adjusted formula will deliver more of a placebo effect.
I'm so tired. This shift never ends. Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Ich kann ja fast nicht glauben.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Noch gar keiner.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
I'm alright. Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Von dem muss ich belauschen, um da weiterzukommen.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Also ich glaube, ich weiß, ich muss belauschen, um da weiterzukommen.
Good evening, sir.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen. As for me, what a blundering...
Ach, falsch. Die hat auch Kopfschmerzen, aber ich habe keins mehr. Du hast Neuralgie. Und du hast auch Kopf... Ah, Erkältung. Wo ist Pippa? Pippa, Pippa. Pippa. Hi. Lädt.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Da ist auch schon alles weg. Aber da haben wir ja auch schon alles. Deswegen.
Do you need medical help yourself, Nurse?
I'm afraid I've contracted some illness, Dr. Reed.
Oh, Medizin geben.
Not under my watch, Nurse. Take this. You'll feel better.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Oh, wir machen das schon. Also wenn ich da einen aussagen sollte, sollte ich auf jeden Fall den aussagen. Der ist nämlich alleine. Der nimmt niemanden mit. Da ich jetzt zuerst den wahrscheinlich dessen. Nein, eigentlich. Was ist denn hier auf dieser Karte? Habe ich noch das Ausrufezeichen Dr. Swansea. Neuer Dialog verfügbar. Dann gehen wir doch mal zum Dr. Swansea. Was ist das denn? Warum ist da eine Tür? Achso, ist keine Tür auf. Ich gehe mal zum Dr. Swansea. Wo ist er denn?
Jonathan, at last. I've been worried sick. Have you solved the case of our poor Sean Hampton?
Don't worry, Edgar. The reputation of Pembroke Hospital is secure. Sean Hampton was not the guilty party.
Is that true? Oh, good news. Good news indeed.
I found Harriet Jones. She's much the same old, embittered woman she was, only she's been made a Skal. Her transformation did not go well.
Incredible. Why not bring her here? We could learn so much by studying her condition. It would be fascinating.
I doubt that. She can barely move. Perhaps we could learn more about the degeneration of Skals.
Perhaps. But she could also belong to a new species. We know so little of the laws that dictate vampire reproduction.
Were there any studies made by your order on the subject?
Not that I'm aware of. I will transmit your discovery to the Brotherhood's primate. He will be delighted.
What do you know of the Ascalon Club?
Not as much as I would like. There have always been rumors about a secret society of vampires operating in the interests of the British Empire, though I've never met a member.
I crossed paths with one, a terrifying creature going by the name of Fergal. He was sent by the Ascalon Club to exterminate the Skals of the East End.
Mein Freund Fergal.
By the stole, Jonathan. If vampires are eliminating their own progeny, then dark times are upon us. Darker than I've ever witnessed.
Do you think Lady Ashbury would know of them?
Jonathan, our beloved lady is not one for social dalliances, nor the assemblies of dark orders. She's a woman of superior taste and selective acquaintance.
Mein Bruder ruft an.
Does the name Old Bridget ring any bells?
I'd never heard of her. Why? A patient of ours? I must confess, I don't know them all.
No, it's just someone I recently met. A fascinating woman. I had thought that perhaps...
By the stole, Jonathan, you've met another vampire. I would appreciate an introduction, if that's the case.
A pleasure as always, Edgar.
So, so, mein Ohr. Also eigentlich mein Ohrring ist ein bisschen eingeklemmt unter dem Dings. Wir haben gequatscht. Wo bist du denn jetzt hin? Da wieder. Ich kann hier nichts klauen. Ah, dann lasse ich es mal. Ich habe sage und schreibe 300 EP. Ist das geil oder ist das geil? Da kann ich nichts. Hier habe ich schon wieder alles gefladert. Das hat nur so geschaut. Das ist...
I cannot enter.
It's locked. Ja, super, jetzt habe ich mein eigenes Namensschild gelesen. Und gehen wir noch mal gucken, ob ich hier was klöppeln kann. Achso, das ist ja meine... Das sollte ja irgendwas klöppeln, oder? Ach nee, Quatsch, ich war ja gerade das andere am machen. Aber klöppeln kann ich nichts mehr. Weil die Kopfschmerz-Scheiße ist unbekannt. ärgert mich. Weil alle Kopfschmerzen haben. Oder Erkältung.